All right, Tim, thanks.
Hey, thank you.
So Tim Collis is here today, and you know what, Tim, when I think of you, I think of a guy that gets shit done.
Oh.
So Tim's a former Snowbird deputy crew chief and spent years maintaining the Sea King helicopters for the Canadian Navy. Tim is raised in Nanton, and I'm very pleased to have you here today.
Thanks, Wade.
So what, I guess the first thing that I had is, how did you get interested in joining the Air Force, and how did you end up kind of working for the Air Force and the Navy all at the same time?
So, got done high school. I don't think any of us were that driven or focused, back then, but it kind of came down to my old man had a seismic business, and he said I kind of had one of two choices. I could stay and work with him in his seismic business, or I could get out and go chart my own course. So my brother had been in the Navy, and he still was in the Navy when I joined, actually. And so he said it was good. It was a 3-year commitment kind of thing that you signed up for, and so I thought, hey, why not go and do some traveling and get to see some things and see what it's like. So
you went to the recruiting center where, like,
in Calgary,
yeah. Walk in there and you're like, I'm in. Where do I sign?
Yeah. Went to the recruiting center and they put you through a bunch of testing and then kind of tell you what you're best suited for. And then from that, you have a list of choices. And that one kind of interested me the most. So signed up for that. And 3 or 4 months later, I was off to boot camp. And
where was that at?
That was in Quebec, just outside of Montreal. And you did that for 2 months. Boot camp. And then,
how was that? Tough?
It was. I mean, it's a total culture change, right? You go from
doing whatever you want,
to
having a schedule, structured schedule,
very structured schedule, and then they want to see if they can break you, so they're putting you through the paces and
see how tough you really are.
Yeah. So you do that for. I mean, it gets easier the more along you go, and that's probably just because you've been satisfactorily brainwashed and broken down,
and physically you're getting physically fit as you go too. You show up there, you're like, oh, there's probably people that show up there that are puking their guts out.
Oh, bad. I was one of them.
At the end of it, they could run all day, right?
Yeah, I was one of them. It was a shocker for sure. Up at 5 a.m. and off to do a 5K run to start your day.
Get the motors warmed up. Get warmed up a little bit.
5 minutes for breakfast, and then get your shit together. And can you swear on this?
Totally.
Oh, okay.
You can say anything you fucking want to say.
And then it's just right from the time you get up in the morning to the time you're done at the end of the day.
What time are they done at the end of the day?
It would depend. It would depend on if you had a good day or a bad day.
Like
if it was a bad day, that day it wouldn't fucking end. You were just gone. You were on it all day long.
Till you passed out.
Pretty much.
Till you physically couldn't stay up any longer.
Yeah.
The drill sergeant, that's like,
it's pretty
your
much
ass?
Kind of like just like you see on
Platoon.
Well, maybe not quite.
Not quite that big.
Not quite as dramatic, but pretty extreme. Like some of those inspections, I remember the one day I was getting my space inspected, and there was literally some dust in the bottom of this boot box.
He got the white glove on, is he?
Yeah, like literally.
Yeah.
And he just fucking came apart. Like,
unglued.
Literally, he made like he was going to punch me right in the stomach. And
he was not happy.
No, and I was just thinking to myself, what the fuck is wrong with this guy?
He's gone off the deep end.
Yeah, like you can't fake this stuff.
No, it's 100% real.
Yeah. So it was a shocker. But then, once you kind of get through that, the next step is you kind of go to school. So went to school for a year. It's just a year full time. There's no semesters or anything.
Was it like, what do they call it? What was the specific thing that you went to school for?
I went to school for aviation systems technology.
Okay.
So, and it was propulsion and hydraulics and airframe, life support equipment, armament. So it was kind of a conglomeration.
Nice.
And then you kind of specialize once you kind of get out of that.
Yeah.
But they give you you take the school for everything.
Big classes?
No, 12 people per class. So Yeah, it was small, and that was in Ontario.
Okay, so you did there 2 months. Now you bounced somewhere else for a year.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
So then you kind of go through the schooling, and it kind of gives you that foundational knowledge, right? And then it's an apprenticeship after that. So you get posted to your base, your first base, and so my first base was Victoria.
Esquimalt?
Pretty sweet. Yeah, Esquimalt.
Cool.
It was actually in Pat Bay, so on the
okay,
west.
I know Pat Bay.
Yeah.
I know
right at
exactly
the
where
airport.
it is. Right where the float plane base is.
Well, they call it Pat Bay, and Pat Bay's there, but the actual hangar that they work out of is right on the airport.
It's just east of that.
Yeah. So got there, and it was kind of funny, actually.
That's a great place to be based, actually.
Oh, it was tits.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
And they'd never had somebody right out of the school, because it was an operational squadron. So it was the Air Force was kind of in a transition at that period. They'd gone through what they called the force reduction plan through the 90s and the early part of the 90s, where they shed a whole bunch of personnel and then stopped recruiting essentially for a period of time, except for in the combat trades. And then I was kind of on the leading front of them kind of starting to rejuvenate again, the force. And so anyways, there was a guy, his name was Frank Martin. He was kind of the school commander. I got to know him while I was in school, and he'd been posted to Pat Bay.
Nice.
And he pulled the strings to get me posted to Pat Bay as well. And so it was really pretty funny, because when I showed up, I think there was one guy there besides him that knew I was coming. And
so those are...
You kind of roll in the doors, and everybody's, you're private and you're pretty fresh. And
like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah, and
what's this
literally,
kid doing here?
Literally, people thought I was in the wrong base.
Yeah, I think you're in the wrong place, partner.
Yeah, that's exactly what they said. Yeah. So, but yeah, I spent 7 years there, and after I was done my apprenticeship, I deployed a few times, and it was I did a ton of traveling there. It was a great experience in Canada and around the world. And
you took a ship from there one time, right?
Yeah.
All the way around?
That's the Sea Kings were a Navy asset essentially, right? So that was our whole mission, was to support the Navy. So anything in Canada, it's kind of funny. Most militaries, any Navy helicopters or Navy personnel that work on them.
Right.
In Canada, anything that flies is considered Air Force, but they still support the different elements, right? The Army, Navy. Cool. So it was. I did a shitload of traveling with them. It was. I probably spent, out of the 7 years I was there, I bet you I spent close to 4 years
out and about, or on assignment, kind of thing.
Yeah,
nice.
So it was a really good experience. Wouldn't have traded it for nothing.
Tell us about, like, you get lined up. They say, like, that time I've seen you in Thailand.
Yeah.
We told that story on Kelly's podcast, but we'll get into that later. But so they're like, they give you a 6 months notice, 2 days notice. They're like, okay, we're going to get on this ship and we're going to go to Thailand from here. We're going to go around the world. Or what was the basic, like, how did they prepare for some sort of trip like that?
It was usually, in addition to the deployment, which typically was 6 to 7 months, there was usually kind of 3 months of working up to get to that point, that level of readiness. So, it was, it's probably a year in the making, kind of all told, from the time, they slate the ship for deployment, and then by the time they get the ship modified to what they need to do, so it's mission fit, and then all the workups to go along with it to make sure that the crew's ready to kind of handle all the different situations.
That boat that you went on, like the first one, was it class like a destroyer or a battleship?
It was a frigate.
A frigate.
So that would be the largest contingent of the force.
Okay.
Would be frigates, and they're kind of multi-purpose vessels, right? They've got surface to surface capability, surface to air capability.
How many crew on a ship that size?
There was 225, I think, on our ship. So it's tight quarters.
Yeah.
It's I mean, the higher rank you are, the better the living
better
conditions
bed you have.
Yeah. But it's still tight. I mean, you sleep, and there was 12 people in our they called a mess. So
like
there's 12
dorm.
12 of us that lived together, and you had one locker, it was slightly larger than your locker in high school.
Just a little bit. So your boots would fit in it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Well, they wouldn't even fit in there. And then and then your bed, and that was pretty much it. That's what you lived on.
But you just slept there the rest of the time.
Yeah.
There's common areas where you go.
Yeah.
Smoke a dart out on the bow. Yeah. Whatever, right?
But some of the best sleeps I can remember ever in those things. It was the lights never came on in those things because people work different shifts, and and it was always super quiet, unless the Air Force always kind of got the shit end of the stick when it came to that. Our room was right below the screws of the propulsion system, so when they had it ramped up really hard, it was like you're in a rock concert, like literally like probably 90 decibels down there, and it was just like wham, wham, wham.
You're trying to sleep at 90 decibels. Oh Christ!
So you throw some earplugs in, whatever. But no, it was.
You get used to that.
Yeah, it's just something you get accustomed to, right?
Was that one of the ships that had one of the big turbines?
Yeah.
In it.
Yeah, it was powered by 2 great big turbines.
And what do they run on?
Jet fuel.
Diesel.
Yeah.
Jet A. 2 of them, and that thing would go like 45 knots or something.
I think max end
it could wide open.
Yeah, it could do 40 plus. Yeah,
that's amazing. For something that big.
Yeah.
You remember how many tons it weighed?
No, fuck.
Like piles.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Like 500 tons or 5,000 tons or whatever, but huge.
Huge. Yeah, they were probably. I think they were 550 feet long, right?
Jesus.
Yeah, something like that.
That's cool.
But the aircraft carrier, like both times I went to the Middle East, we deployed with the U.S. as part of a battle group, and those aircraft carriers, they cruise at like 35 knots, and those things are 5,000 people on those things. I know, right? So it was hard. Crazy. It was hard to keep up with them even. Like
they're just cruising. You're like kind of 75% of your power to keep up to them.
Yeah,
burning fuel like.
And they're nuclear powered, so they don't ever have to stop for fuel.
They don't have to check the gas gauge. No. It's good. They're like, it's good for another 25 years. How much gas you got? 25 years worth. Yeah, good. So you go over there and do these kind of imitation drills or war games, or what would you do with? When you went over there, how did that work?
The Middle East, they were active, right? So the first time we went was in '99, and that was under part of a UN mission to enforce the weapons embargo on Iraq.
Okay.
So Iraq, after the Gulf War, they were still smuggling weapons out of Iraq and into other.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. That was always on the news kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. So they're right beside Iran, and what they would do is they would use these little ships, and they would stay in their territory waters, and then they'd cut into Iran's and just stay behind Iran's territory waters inside of those and smuggle weapons out. So we had to try and get in there and get them before they got into Iranian waters, because nobody really wanted to deal with Iran.
That was a gray area, or an area you didn't want to be at.
No, and
in their not airspace but water space.
Anywhere near them, really, right? So Iran wasn't happy that the Western coalition was there, and
not one bit.
No, yeah. So that's kind of what we did. We just kind of tried to intercept these shipments, and then in the meantime, the aircraft carrier was. Iraq was still trying to rebuild their air defenses and stuff, and the ship just made sure that they never got really ahead of anything.
Never got anything done.
No, it was pretty. That aircraft carrier launched fighter jets.
That thing's a monster, eh?
20 hours a day.
It's a floating death machine if it wants to be, right?
Oh yeah,
it could just unleash its power.
Yeah, they switched. They dropped. I think they said they dropped 5,000 tons of ordnance on Iraq while we were there on station.
Oh, so you're involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
And then went back in 2003, and that was after 9/11, and so that was a kind of a different mission, more trying to, same area, still in the southern Arabian Gulf is where we patrolled, but just trying to find terrorists, I guess, that were trying to flee out of Afghanistan. And
was there like a top 10 list or 100 the top
Yeah,
100
they had
dudes,
the
and you're like,
list,
let's find these guys.
You know what? I think it was mostly economic sanctions. They were just
Right.
trying to kind of
Trying to
smother them
make
out,
sure
cut
that
off
was-
their chains of
Making
economy.
dough.
Yeah,
Making the dough.
yeah.
Did you have leave when you were there, and you got to? Well, I guess it was too hostile in those local areas.
No,
Or
I
did
mean
you
we'd
get a chance to
go.
go to town or kind of thing.
Yeah, like typically in '99 we'd do kind of 2 to 3 week patrols kind of thing, and then we would go in and that was actually more interesting because we hit Saudi Arabia, we hit Bahrain, we went into Dubai, we went into Daman. Yeah, so we hit kind of all the friendly spots in the Middle East.
Yeah, good. Yeah, well,
But a totally different culture over there, and it was pretty interesting to see. When we went in 2003, it was just into Dubai the whole time. So we'd go out, do a 3-week patrol into,
that place
into
is
Dubai.
nice, right?
Yeah, it was good. It's good.
Styling.
It's just it's like Calgary, but people
hot.
wear different clothes. Yeah.
but really hot. Piping hot.
Oh, it was gross because we were there in the summer both times, so it was
Yeah.
like there was days I remember it was 48 degrees.
Ugh.
Right, not a breath of wind, 100% humidity, just dying.
God awful.
Not good for Canadians, that's for sure.
Not good for a prairie boy. Oh man. I got one of my questions here, just a simple one. What would you consider the coolest place the Navy or the Air Force you ever ended up and said, man, this place is unreal?
Oh, that's a tough
Or a
one.
couple of them.
I mean, Thailand was
Yeah.
awesome just because that's like a whole nother world,
Oh, it's incredible.
right? And then
Especially
then
to
you
do-
run into a buddy. That was pretty epic. And then I like New Zealand a lot. Got to go to New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's where my family's from. But I've my extended family, but I'd never go back there. That was the last time I was there, was in 2002.
Well, that's cool. You got to go there. That's
Yeah.
a long ways away.
Yeah, it was
boat.
pretty neat. Yeah, that's a long way.
If they left like tomorrow morning, how long do you think it'd take to get to New Zealand? If they like chugged as hard as they could,
Probably 2 weeks.
it's not bad, really.
Yeah. We went for direct from Victoria to Australia for an exercise, and
And you got to fuel up, obviously, right? Somewhere
but they
along the
fuel up
line.
at sea.
Yeah,
they
they
can
bring
fuel
out
up
the
at sea.
fuel. The big tanker pulls up beside you, run the line across, or whatever it does.
Yeah, they
And
fire
it's-
the lines
yeah,
over, and
then you wait a day for it to fill up or something.
usually like probably 3-4 hours kind
Oh,
of thing.
not bad, eh?
Yeah,
It must pump like a son of a bitch.
Oh yeah, they feed it in. It's like probably a 6-inch hose that just kind of connects in.
Barreling down.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So once they go out, they don't have to come back.
No,
Even-
I mean you got to
even
stop
the
for
fuel.
food.
Oh, but they can bring that too, right?
Yeah, they same time you're getting fuel, the helicopters are bringing over pallets of food
Oh.
and fresh stuff, and
That's got to be a pain in the ass to make sure there's enough food in that thing, right?
yeah, they got
How
it
long
down
can
to
it
a
go
science.
from you fully stocked and let's say fully crewed up? Can it go like a couple weeks?
Yeah, I'd say probably 10 to 14 days kind of thing.
And then you're gonna need more food.
Food and fuel. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's pretty good. Yeah,
That's pretty good. Yeah,
yeah, it's not bad. So
better than
that's
better than I can do in my camper.
you don't want to be out at sea for more than 2 weeks. I mean, it's painful.
You get the bad sea legs on that thing, or is it not bad because it's so big?
No, they pitch around pretty good.
They get back to land, and you're like,
Oh yeah,
I hate that.
yeah.
I get it bad a few times.
Did you get seasick?
No,
No.
usually sick because we drink it all night, but I never get seasick.
I got seasick the first time, and I was out, and that was and not bad.
And then you got over it.
And then I was over it, and I've never been seasick again.
I took Mike Mesley out to Tofino. We went fishing out there. We didn't get 10 feet off the dock, and he was puking in the boat. I said, "You better stay here." And he goes, "No, I'll make her." He goes, "I'm going fishing with you guys all day."
Oh.
Just barfing over the side. I'm like, God.
Yeah, people don't understand how bad they will feel.
It was not good. Like, he turned like an awful color. He was done. He was done. And as soon as we got back, like 8 hours later, he got off the boat, got on the dock, walked up the ramp, got on earth, and just boom, he was totally better. But tired from barfing all day.
Oh yeah.
But he's tough.
Yeah, he's one of the tougher ones.
Lucky he's so tough. Would have killed a normal man.
That's what he'll tell you anyways.
I know. What, and then how did you end up, are we caught up to that point? And then, so you're doing these big overseas missions, and then how do you end up with the snowbirds?
So the last deployment to the Middle East I'd kind of had my fill. I wasn't single anymore. I'd kind of hooked up with Christine by that point, and the one thing about being in that squadron was never home, right? If you weren't at sea on a deployment, like a active deployment, you were at sea on an exercise, or you were over in Halifax doing something over there, picking up a helicopter or whatever. And so that Frank Martin, the guy that got me there in the first place, again, he was the detachment chief on my last Middle East deployment. And I just kind of talked to him. I said, hey, like, this is where I'm at, and I'd really like to try something else. And another guy I knew, and I think you maybe met him. His name was Wayne Mott. His call sign was Smutley.
Oh yeah, I do remember him. Yeah,
so,
Smutley, for sure.
Yeah, so I worked with him the whole time I was in Sea Kings, and he had gotten on the snowbirds. And so I kind of talked to him, and he was like, yeah, man, you should come out here, and I'll do what I can to see if I can help you get here. And I talked to Frank Martin, and he was on board. He's like, yeah, you need to go and see an actual Air Force base. You can't just see the Navy, or you'll just be ruined.
We gotta step it up. Step it up a notch.
He's like, so anyways, he said, what you got to do, you kind of got to apply. You got to do these things. So anyways, so he kind of gave me the path to do that, and I jumped through all the hoops, and then before I even got back from that deployment, I had a posting message that came in and said, congratulations, you're posted to
pack your bags.
Yeah, 431 Squadron. So yeah, we got back and went on a house hunting trip out to the Jaw. And I was like, oh, I don't know.
How many years you end up there?
Where it's at, but I was out there for 5 years.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
I really liked it. I mean, it was. I don't think I'd passed through Saskatchewan, but like when you live here in Alberta, you don't go to Saskatchewan. Not unless you.
I bet I didn't go there till I was 35 years old for the first time.
You're not going out there to sightsee.
Not really. Sorry, Saskatchewan.
So yeah, we moved out there.
Oh. The gap between Alberta and Manitoba.
I just remember driving out there, and it's just like, boom, 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 boom. They had. I don't think they'd ever put any sealer on their roads or anything. Just whatever.
It's a crack in the road.
It's just like, what are these people doing?
I know. It's
but
the roads haven't got any better, by the way. I was just there last summer. It's terrible. I took the gravel. The gravel's better than the pavement.
Oh God. Yeah. So, anyways, we ended up moving out there because that's where the snowbirds are based out of, and kind of half of it that's the training base for all the pilots in the Air Force, and for people that don't know, the snowbirds, they fly the Tudor, and it used to be the trainer for the Canadian Forces. So they've since upgraded, but the Tudor remains the aircraft of choice for the snowbirds.
The aerial acrobatic show.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So yeah,
they're old birds now. What year were most of those ones built? 60s?
Yeah, they all kind of came into service between I think 61 and 65 kind of.
Where are they made?
They were made in Canada.
Yeah, okay, I figured that.
Canadair made them. They're I think they're a copy of a U.S. design.
Yeah.
But a similar U.S. design. Yeah. But they were all I think they made 120 of them, all like when it was kind of fully used as the trainer. And the snowbirds, when I was there, they always had 20 kind of in rotation. And then we'd bring, you couldn't use them forever, right? The airframes would get too beat up.
Yeah.
So you'd use them, you know, for X amount of hours, and then, and they had strain gauges and stuff on them. So you could kind of monitor that, and they'd get rolled out periodically. And they have a whole bunch.
There's always 20 on the roster though for the snowbirds. And then how many would be in the performances?
So we'd travel with 12.
Okay.
And then there was always 8 kind of back at home.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. 12? No, 11.
Must be some wicked pilots, eh?
Oh, unbelievable.
And you got to ride along on every trip, right?
Yeah, that's kind of how you got around. So
you didn't take the bus, you didn't drive. You hopped in with one of those guys and
Yeah.
rode in the right seat.
Yeah, so there was
blazed.
one pilot and one mechanic in every jet. And
so they all 11 planes would leave, and there's every seat had somebody sitting in them.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, and then there was a tractor trailer that kind of followed us around.
The big rig.
Yeah, with spare parts and
spare starters.
Those poor bastards. We carried a lot of parts. Actually, like when I was there, the first couple of years I was there, we didn't have any rig that
spare spark plugs and shit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh man! So I got to tell one story.
Yeah, because we bumped into you. Do you remember that?
Going to Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my buddy Jimmy the Jet and I, and this is an epic story. And I can't. He's gonna be.
I don't know if you should tell this story.
I can't remember. Well, I can tell a lot of it, some of it. So we decided we are going to go to the Grey Cup in Toronto. Saskatchewan was playing. I don't know who, but anyways, is that the what do they call it? The Sky Dome or something?
Yeah, Rogers Center or
whatever it is. So we get the plane here one morning at like 8 a.m. High River Airport. We're getting that plane out of the hangar, and this guy shows up. We'd never met him in our life before. Woody, that's just his nickname. I never ever known his real name. And Christian. So there's 4 of us in a Baron 5.8. We kicked the tires and light the fires. And I'm thinking we head to Toronto, and we plan on we stopped at Winnipeg, Sault Ste. Marie, and the last leg to get there. But the whole time, we're chasing you guys.
Yeah.
We'd pass you guys, and then you guys would pass us. We'd pass you guys. Do that whole way, because you guys can only fly for like an hour and you're out of gas, right?
Yeah.
Well, we were flying like 5-hour legs.
Yeah.
Or probably not 4-hour legs. But yeah.
Those things are terrible on fuel.
Oh. So how bad are they on fuel?
Well, they'll burn, typically for a show you'll chew through like 1,000 liters of fuel, and that's 45 minutes.
Per bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So when you're filling those things up, like I know when we were coming back, we stopped at, crying out loud. I can't remember. But anyway, we stopped at some airport, and you guys were all there, but you weren't around. You guys must have went to town for lunch or something, but there's like those 11 birds sitting there. It must take like a couple hours to fill everybody up.
Yeah, it depended on where you were.
I guess they only have one tanker. If they got 10 tankers, it'd be quicker, but yeah.
Yeah, if the FBO had like 2 or 3 tankers, it was pretty fast.
Make it happen.
But yeah, if there was only one, it was. And some of those FBOs, you know what some of those fuel trucks are like. Like
some of them are junk.
Yeah, they're pretty rickety.
Pretty awful.
You can piss hard and those things can fuel you.
Yeah, I know. So we did the trip, and we'd hear a little bit on the radio now and then. Because we're talking with ATC and then we got there, and I still never seen you the whole time we were there.
No.
You guys were busy doing something, and I was busy doing something. But yeah, it was a hell of a flight. I think it took us 12 hours.
Yeah.
By the time, because we had to stop and fuel and stop and eat.
And you guys, didn't we see you in Thunder Bay on the way back?
That's where I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we got
Thunder
stuck
Bay.
there.
Yeah. We made it back.
You guys kept cruising. You guys had no fear.
We blazed to Saskatoon or Regina, and it was like 40 below.
Yeah, it was cold.
It was cold. I mean, cold. So if we left the plane outside overnight, there's no way it'll start in the morning. Like not a hope in hell.
Yeah.
So we could park it inside, but it's like $500 to open the doors because they let all the heat out.
Yeah.
And they got to heat it up. We're like, yeah, it's worth it. Put it inside.
Yeah.
So we put it inside. go have a few beers and go to the keg because it's Saskatoon. There's nothing to do. It's 40 bull legs. You know, just eat and sleep. We get the plane out the next morning and get her fired up. Take off, like just get it lit. And all of a sudden, it has a Geritol heater. Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Runs off gas. It quits. Well, guess where the breaker is for it? It's like in the nose. I'm just like, that's a stupid place for it because we can't get to it, right? So we flew all the way to Calgary. I had a 1.5 liter bottle of water.
Yeah.
As soon as that heater quit, 10 minutes later, it was frozen, like solid ice.
Yeah.
And we don't have any winter. Like I got a light jacket on. We got a sleeping bag in the back. Christian's in the sleeping bag. It's like 40 below in the plane.
We're gonna die.
It's like 40 below in the plane. We flew all the way back to higher and we made it.
Oh shit!
It was brutal.
We had the same kind of heater in the Sea Kings, and it was those things were notorious for not working. Never used it on the West Coast, right? And then
when you did want to use them, they wouldn't work.
Yeah,
because I hadn't used them forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they were bad.
They were a little balled up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's a long ways to go in a barren halfway across Canada.
Well, we flew. That was actually probably one of the coolest fly paths I've ever been a part of because we carved it up right downtown Toronto.
Right downtown, the CN Towers there, all the other arenas there, that big one's there. I remember being there. It was awesome.
Yeah,
I'm like, hey,
we were lower than the CN Tower. We had our team
for
photographer in the tower taking pictures down on the formation, and I remember
martinis and taking pictures.
Pretty much. I remember coming through there and Scratch was the lead.
Oh, okay.
And he just turned the formation between two skyscrapers. Right? We were too wide to go through it level.
But one at a time could go.
So he just turned the whole formation and went through it and around it.
That's awesome.
It was wild. Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah. But the funny part was we went all the way out there for Grey Cup and to do the fly past on the game for the opening, and they didn't even open the roof. Only in Canada. That's a CFL thing, I think. That's how
I remember that now. But I remember you guys were practicing maybe the day before. Did you do a little practice?
Oh, probably,
run?
yeah.
And then the next day we're all sitting there and we could hear them go over. But
yeah, anybody that was standing outside got to see us, but anybody that was in the stadium, I think they saw it on the jumbotron or whatever. But
it was a good game, but the halftime show just sucked. We had VIP tickets.
That was Lenny Kravitz.
We got to go out and run around out there and hang out. I thought he sucked. But that's me. I think they should add some country music.
That's fair.
So
how'd you get into? I never asked you that. How'd you get into flying? Anyways,
my mom and dad were pilots.
Oh, flying farmers.
Flying farmers of Alberta. Yeah, my mom was a flying farmer queen of the year when she was 17 years old. She got an award for the most hours in 1 year, 100 hours.
Oh, that's how you got the queen? You didn't have to
she was the queen. You
had a photo shoot on the wing.
You had to do something cool, like do more hours than anybody else. So she had like 101 hours or something in 1 year. Grandpa bought her a plane when she was 17 years old when they lived out at Gladys Ridge.
No kidding.
Old Grandpa Buster, yeah. So, yeah, 17 years old and get a plane and learn how to fly the thing. And
does she still fly?
No, she hasn't flown a long time, but when I bought my old 120, she probably plugged, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 hours in that thing after not flying for 25, 30 years or something. Huh. Still knew how to get her up and down. Yeah. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And then when we had the farm by Mossley, it was like maybe northwest of Mossley, maybe 5 or 6 miles. They had a grass strip there and a couple of planes. So I kind of grew up with flying. Grandpa was a airplane mechanic in World War II. Yeah. So yeah, we got a little aviation in our blood.
Yeah, no kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so 20 years, pretty much 20 years. I think I've had a pilot's license for 19 years.
Wow.
4 different planes and
only crashed a couple of them.
That's right. Only had a dead stick a couple times. But yeah, we're still here rocking. So I'm enjoying the shit out of it. Yeah. I love flying. The plane's been getting the annual done, so I haven't been flying for lately, but I've been working anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Where's the farthest you ever flew those tutors? Out of Moose Jaw, like the biggest, longest mission.
Well, we'd go all the way down to Florida. We did quite a few shows in the States to open the year and close the year.
Yeah.
But that's kind of it. Like they're kind of relegated to North America, right? I had heard.
Could you hop the pond in those things? Probably,
no,
impossible.
You'd have to use cargo planes to get them over there.
Yeah. They could if they have to, right? They could take them apart.
I think you could. Like I think they actually kind of looked at, because you can put long range tanks on those things.
Oh yeah, belly tanks or whatever, wing tanks.
Yeah, but with the snowbirds, they take those off and they put diesel tanks on the bottom for the smoke.
Oh right.
That's how they generate the smoke, right? So
I flew to Florida one time.
That's a long haul.
Hit that Baron, yeah, with Jimmy the Jet. He was taking some IFR training at Kissimmee, Florida.
Oh yeah.
So we're down there, and up comes this dude, and he's like, "What are you guys doing here?" And it was John Travolta.
Oh.
And he was taking some training there too, and
yeah.
He sees a Canadian registration on the Baron. He's like, "What are you guys doing down here?" And so Jimmy the Jet, he's a total personable guy. He's like, "Hey, how you doing? Good." And he's like, "Well, if you guys are around here next week, I'm having brunch at my house. You guys want to join in?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure." So I can't remember what the airport's called, but he gave us the call sign for it, or whatever, the ident, and we went there, and it was like 100 people having brunch, and we got the word for coming from the farthest away, from High River. They like the fly-in breakfast you give the guy who came the farthest trip, so we got that, and then we had breakfast and on orange juice, and then we left directly from there and flew all the way to Houston.
Holy
we went
shit.
over the Gulf of Mexico. We were going to go direct, and we had I can't remember what they're called, but it tells us exactly how much fuel you have and your distance and all that stuff. Shaden. Yeah. The Shaden fuel meter or whatever. And I think it said we had like 45 minutes. Once we got there, we'd have 45 minutes reserve or something. And ATC out of Baton Rouge, they says, "Yeah, you guys should probably turn inland because the weather's getting a little rough. We're out there bouncing around." And then we're like, no, we're good. We're going to keep on cruising. They're like, "We're going to cancel search and rescue. We're going to cancel monitoring and radar service." And
You're on your own.
You're on your own. We're like, maybe it's a good idea. So we blazed north, and we flew to Baton Rouge. And we get there, and they got no goddamn avgas. It's like where they make it.
Really?
So they had to call a tanker truck. We're there for probably 2 hours waiting for gas, right? And then we get filled up and then get there. But yeah, it was a big well, we never did it, but we wanted to fly from one end of the Gulf to the other, like east to west, but we never really did it. But
that's funny. Yeah,
that was good. And then we got down there, and our buddy Tim, we stayed at his place. Then we went to Corpus Christi Bay and Mustang Island or Mustang Beach and Port Aransas, and spent a few days down there. But spent like a couple weeks in that plane with Jimmy. So
it's a good tour.
If you want to see if you can be friends with somebody, go stay in a plane go sit beside them in a plane for 2 weeks. If you don't want to kill each other, you might be all right.
I agree with that. There was the old Tudor wasn't the most comfortable jet in the world.
That Baron 5.8, it was like a Suburban that had wings. It was perfect.
That'd be pretty good.
It was tough. No turbos, no pressurization.
Well, the Tudor, everybody thinks the Tudor's a high performance jet, but
it really isn't.
It's really not. It's really.
What'd they cruise at, like?
You could maybe
250
get
knots.
Oh, if you were lucky.
Oh, really? Not that good, eh? My 210 goes...
250. Yeah, probably 250.
That's pretty good.
That's not bad.
That's pretty good. All right, we're back from a short break. We had to record a little bit of music upstairs, so
that's
we're
pretty
back.
Good.
So, Tim, how do you like the first mule ever, you think?
Yeah, not
How
bad.
Is it? Not bad?
Pretty refreshing.
It's a staple here at 430 Riverside Green, Northwest, High River, Alberta.
It's perfect Sunday morning drink, really.
It really is. It really is.
Some people go to church.
Some people drink. Reno Air Races, you said you went to that? I didn't even know. So
yeah,
tell us a little bit about that.
One of the highlights. That's if you've never been, you gotta go.
I've been wanting to go. I have no good reason why I haven't gone.
No, it's
I have the ability to go there, and I haven't done it.
You want to meet a collective of people that like live. That's the collective, because there's it's pretty interesting. They literally race planes around a circuit. And
Balls out.
It's not like a time trial. They launch a fleet of planes, and some of these guys have 100 hours. Some of these guys got 1,000 hours.
Some have 30,000 hours.
Yeah, it's nuts. And they go. And like the year I was there, there's multiple crashes, which was really sad, right? Because none of those, they're all civilian planes. They don't have ejection seats or anything, so
they go down.
They're piling
ship.
in. Yeah.
Wow.
But they auger in, and they send out the cleanup crew and launch the next wave. So, yeah, pretty wild. And they've got jets. Hardcore. They've got jets. They've got old warplanes. Everything. It was we were literally.
Do they race any little planes, like race 172s around?
No, well, not that I saw, anyways. But
Bonanzas
we were like the halftime show, so we would show up and kind of prep the jets, and then when they had a break in the day, we would go up and do a show, and then there was a couple other acts, obviously, but it was it's high altitude.
If you're at one of those, because it's over the
super
desert,
high
right?
altitude, and in the mountains.
What's it at? Like
I can't remember.
6,000.
But I remember
mile high, maybe?
Yeah, our power was pretty limited.
Working
up
hard.
there. Yeah.
Huh. So something like that, would like the Blue Angels be there too, or a different civilian, like a non-military group?
We were the only air demo team there that year, and that would have been 2007, I think. But I'm sure the Blue Angels have been there, and there's been a lot of talk about totally doing away with that whole thing because it is so dangerous. But like I think when we were there was 3 planes that augered in.
Oh, for sure. No, right? That's crazy.
And they've had no shortage of near misses too, because they've got the grandstand where everybody sits and kind of watches. But it's just an awesome event. Like for anybody that loves aviation, is in aviation, that's something you need to go and
I want to go watch the Red Bull air races too.
Yeah, that'd be
same kind of thing. I heard they're unbelievable.
That'd be pretty awesome. Yeah.
So, what about the Mount Baker mystery story?
So,
or that I've never.
I'll give you a little story. It's kind of a funny story, and hopefully your show doesn't get too big, because maybe somebody will get in trouble for this one. But
oh well. Just say allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. We were in Abbotsford. We were in Abbotsford at the air show out there, and that's probably Canada's biggest air show. Sorry.
It's all good.
And so, anyways, we're getting ready to leave. One of the jets breaks down, so I flew in the back. They call them Vics. So when we travel with the snowbirds, we'd travel in three plane formations. 2 jets would go ahead, and that was the coordinators, and they would fly ahead to make sure everything was ready kind of before everybody else got there, and then we'd travel in 3 plane formations. So I always traveled in the back because I had all the signatures for all the maintenance, and so if anybody broke on the way, we could switch them out a jet. Yeah, we could just fix it and then carry on kind of thing. We just trade jets around. But one of the jets in my Vic actually broke down. It had an electrical problem, so me and my buddy Kevin Spooner, he was my electrician. He stayed back with me because it was an electrical fault, and we fixed the jet. Took a little while, but we were only going to Kelowna, so it wasn't very far. We were going VFR, and we had lots of gas, so I flew with the solos. So the solos were the guys that they do the crosses, like the head-on crosses.
These guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're pretty seasoned pilots, but they have an ounce of They don't have an ounce of fear, actually. That's probably the best way to put it.
They don't have an ounce of fear.
No, they totally, probably one thing I could say about any solo I ever met, the most confident people I've ever met.
Really?
Right? They just totally believe in themselves and their
Not a bad
competency
way to
and their
be.
skills. No, awesome way to
That's
be.
why they need to be confident, or they probably shouldn't be doing that role.
Exactly. Yeah. So, anyways, we finally got the jet fixed, and we had lots of time, lots of gas. So they said, "Oh, well, let's go and we're going to go and do what do they called it? A shoot run or something." Anyways, I had no idea what it was, and I was like, "Well, whatever. I mean,
let's do it. I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'm ready." So we tuck on down, and Mount Baker's not very far away, and then to duck around and go back to Kelowna, it was easy to do it on a tank of gas. So they call it a toboggan run. That's what they call it. So anyways, we get there, and my jet's in the lead, and these other two guys are in the back, and they're following us. So what happens is you kind of, and it's totally violating like multiple rules, like national park. Allegedly violating a lot of rules. National park, because you're supposed to maintain a minimum altitude and blah, blah, blah. Somebody with these stupid rules. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what rules are made to be broken. Right? So.
100%.
So anyways, we're coming into the mountain, and we're coming in pretty low, and I'm not too worried about it. And then we start climbing the mountain, and we're, like I said, the Tudor's relatively underpowered for a jet.
But you're not too high. Well, you're high once you get up the mountain, but you're starting close to sea level.
Yeah, we're starting low, and then we start climbing up the side of the mountain, right? And we're losing power, we're losing speed. Now I'm starting to kind of get nervous, right? Like, are we going to get like in a stall here or what? In. But obviously there's an out for everything as long as you kind of know what's going on. They just weren't letting on what was going on. And we get to the top, and we were so close to the peak of the mountain as we crested the top.
You're like,
I physically lifted my feet in the cockpit because I thought we were going to leave part of the airplane, the belly of the airplane.
You leave some paint on the top of the mountain.
Yeah. So, and you're almost out of power, and you crest the top, and you shoot down the other side.
The toboggan run.
Yeah.
Nice.
So then you shoot down the other side, gain all your airspeed, and power right back again, right? And so we do that, and that scares the shit out of me. And so he's like, "Oh, we got enough gas. Well, let's do one more." So then we
tap in the fuel gauge. We're good.
Yeah. So then we come back down to the bottom. We got lots of energy. We circle around, and we come back up around, and we go back up the same side again, and we crest the top, and we dump the wings. And there is literally a guy standing on top of the mountain, and he's so close.
You made eye contact with him?
I can't even imagine how shit scared he was to see these two jets come over the top, and we crest the top, and the guy fly with he radios back. He says, "Holy shit, there's a guy up here." and the guy behind us, he was actually the senior pilot. He says, "Well, how close was he?" and my guy says, "Well, he had a beard."
Pretty goddamn close.
He was like, "Okay, let's beat feet."
You just about hit him, probably.
Oh, it was like, I shit you not, it felt like he was from me to
20 feet away or something.
Yeah,
not far.
I mean, he would have been probably standing at your neighbor's house kind of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And two jets come ripping over the top and dump.
Too bad a guy didn't know who it was, eh?
Oh God.
It'd be cool to see what he thought of it. Or hear his story.
Probably the coolest experience ever.
Probably the best day of his life.
And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we're on our way to Kelowna, and we come up on this. It's a beaver on floats, so we're cruising,
putting along at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah,
or he's wide open at 100 miles an hour.
Exactly. Yeah. So we go blowing by him. We split.
What altitude?
We are VFR, so
anything under 12, 5, but he couldn't have been high.
No.
Float planes usually fly at 500 feet or 1,000 feet.
Yeah, so he's pretty
AGL,
low.
yeah.
So we just split, and we go by him at like 500 miles an hour, smoke on, and we're on the common freak.
Because you guys love beavers so much.
Yeah.
That's probably why.
So we're on the common freak, and he radios us, and he's like, that was awesome. My kid's in here with me.
Nice.
Can you guys peel around and do it again? And the
right.
guys are like, yeah. And we just pitch right up and go into a loop.
And then
come
then
back
fall
around.
And get behind him.
Yeah,
Nice.
and come right back through with the smoke on. He's like, this is the greatest day ever of flying.
No kidding.
But it was stuff like that. Like that was what really kind of made the snowbirds. It was just doing. It was those things. It wasn't the
smiles on people's faces.
Yeah, it wasn't the shows. It was the stuff that you did kind of outside of the shows that really kind of made the experience kind of what it was.
Totally cool. Yeah. It's like buzzing. I remember when I first got that 120, I'd go out and buzz people at harvest or seeding or were they feeding cattle?
Why wouldn't you?
Get behind the sun, they don't see you, right? You come in like a hawk. And the people be out like feeding cattle.
Did you ever do it to anybody that you didn't know?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, that was one thing I always found. I couldn't, like, we did some flights over here when I was with the snowbirds, and I didn't know what was what really until I could find a real landmark that I knew, but I don't know if that kind of happened to you or.
I'd see people like Weston and like out at the Blades, there's like Fathead's place or Chataway's, and they'd be out feeding cattle, and I just aisle it right back. They don't even hear you, right? You're just sailing down, and then you just get like right over their head and just full power, and then just like, then you see them. Yeah, I forget about it, and then like a month later, I'll see them in town. They're like, "You fucking asshole! You scared the shit out of us," and I'm just like, "Oh yeah, sorry."
It's half the reason I own a plane.
Yeah. It's not just to get around. You got to have some fun too, So
yeah, absolutely. Have you done any aerobatics or anything like?
No, not really. No.
It's
I don't do much. I've been in a plane with a guy. I've just been a passenger, but no. I'd like to.
Did you ever meet Kent Peach?
No.
Oh, he's from North Dakota. Okay. He usually does some shows in Southern Alberta. Maybe we'll try and go.
I need to spend a little bit more time with Todd Lemieux. I was telling you about him in that. He's got a Citabria that's full aerobatic. We did just a little bit of formation flying, and he wants to take me out and show me more about formation flying. There's quite a bit to it, really, to be safe.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll do more. Hopefully this summer, if there's some time.
Yeah,
it's never time.
No, that's true.
But there will be. So let's talk about what you've been up to since you left the military.
Yeah, so I left the military. I was you can't do snowbirds forever, right? So
nobody does.
No.
How about the pilots? Let's just one more question about snowbirds.
Yeah.
They got a time limit.
So typically the pilots will do 3 years, and then they rotate out.
And that's that.
Yeah. So they do 3 years, but. They have the new crew coming in on, they'll bring in, I think they bring in 3 new pilots every year kind of thing. And so those guys work up and then work into the formation.
Okay.
So there's guys that have done multiple tours. They can come back as the lead. Like you can't go right into the lead position without being one of the formation pilots first. And it's a big commitment, like you're 6 months on the road.
Big time.
Yeah, 6 months on the road, and then the winters are tough, like flying 2-3 missions a day kind of thing, doing the practices, and then all the briefs and debriefs after every practice. So it's, it's a really rewarding job, but it's a lot of work. Like people don't understand.
Huge commitment, huge amount of time.
Yeah. They're 12-hour days all winter, and then you're kind of into the show season, and it's the same thing. But it's pretty awesome.
Totally awesome. Yeah. Cool, man. That was a great discussion on your military history and all the fun. Yeah, that's cool. So on to what's been going on since you hit civilian life again.
Yeah, so I left the military. Me and Christine decided we were going to come back to the homeland. Kind of
God's country.
Yeah, planted roots here in High River, and I got going with a company called PII, which is a pipeline inspection company that was owned by GE, and spent kind of the next close to 10 years kind of with them. Started off in the field, like I had a good technical background, so I got hired to kind of maintain the tools and work on the tools. And so started in the upstream stuff, running small inch tools for companies like Shell. And then it wasn't too long I was there. I got going on ultrasonic tools, and all the ultrasonic tools really in the world that service these pipelines have all been born from Germany, kind of thing. So kind of got working with them and working on the ultrasonic tools because Canada's they're really progressive with the technology for pipeline inspection. And
they want to make sure they're leaders in the industry around here.
They do it. They do it right. Like if you go back far enough in the history of pipeline inspection, Pipetronics, which was owned by PII, the company I worked for, they were actually started by TransCanada.
Okay.
So TransCanada saw the value in this ultrasonic technology like back in the 80s, and they started their own inspection company for their own pipelines, really.
Yeah.
Right. And then, obviously a little bit of a conflict of interest there, being a pipeline company and owning your own inspection technology. So they pieced it off, and long story short, PII ended up buying Pipetronics. But yeah, like Canada's probably the most progressive country in the world when it comes to pipeline inspection and regulation.
Making sure the due diligence is done and the safety's there, and they don't want any problems.
No, and it's not like in the U.S. it's a prescriptive mandate down there. The regulator prescribes kind of what technologies you need to run and the frequency and all that kind of thing. In Canada, it's really left to the pipeline operator to manage their own integrity of their system. Mm-hmm. So they just kind of they evaluate your integrity plan. They evaluate this how you run your pipeline, and they largely leave it up to you. Up to the operator.
But they give you the okay at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, they're giving you
approve your system.
Yeah, they're giving you the license to operate. So, but with that in mind, Canada's like the pipeline companies in Canada are very, very progressive about new technology and trying to do as much as they can to ensure that they're moving products safely, right? So
for sure. No, I think they're probably. I would say I would think, and I think they're probably the best around.
Yeah.
Globally.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the workshops and the conferences that they have in Canada, and companies from around the world come to kind of take part in those, so that they kind of get a better appreciation, better understanding.
Well, they certainly have the best welders in the world here in Alberta.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, they're pretty amazing tools. The crack tools that I was primarily dealing with, they could find like a crack like what's in the palm of your hand.
Hairline cracks.
They could find those in pipelines.
And it can it tell the wall thickness, or if there's been some
they can size
corrosion or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Like, what's the coolest thing with that equipment can pick up? Like we're calling these smart pigs, right?
Yeah.
What's from 1980 or 1990 to now to the current? Is there something that's really changed that? Like something that was like, wow.
Well, I think the resolution of the metal loss tools it's unbelievable. It's like literally once they digitize it, it's like looking at the inside of the pipeline.
It's like perfect.
Whereas before you were really analyzing signals.
Right.
So probably not as visually kind of.
They've got it down. Could it get much better?
It's hard to say. I mean, they pour money into that stuff, right?
It could get better, but it's really damn good right now.
Yeah, it's really good. And the accuracy is like most people in the industry say those tools are more accurate than a person that actually physically goes and does it on the outside of the pipe.
It's better. Yeah. The machine can do it better than the man.
Yeah, can more accurately measure it. Yeah. I mean, they're accurate. The location of the defect is to millimeters. You know what I mean? So when you think about 100 and 200 kilometer pipeline, and they can go dig on a
exactly
spot.
Where it is.
Yeah, and find it.
They dig a bit, they hydro a bit, they expose it and cut a piece out.
Yeah.
Some goofball comes in and welds it up, and then off they go.
Yeah.
They shoot it, and let's go do another one.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I've done a few integrity digs over the years, not many, and I thought that was a pretty gravy job. I liked them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's
Except for your welding on pipe. Well, some of the pipe's 40 years old and it's magnetized as shit, and
oh yeah,
whatever, you figure it out. Wrap the ground around 10 times and do your thing. But
yeah. Some of that old pipe is, and that's why I don't understand why people don't want new pipelines. I mean,
yeah, the old stuff.
Man, the construction
40-year-old
codes
pipe around here that's perfect. There's I welded pipe out at Longview is because they bring up the old permit or something. I don't know, not exactly sure, but it was put in there in 1946. I was tying into it. It's still rocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, low pressure, but
I mean, you'd
still working.
Be the construction standards in the gray of steel today versus 1940s.
It's got to be 100 times better.
Yeah, exponentially better, right? Yeah, and quality controls and all that stuff.
Yeah. What's you been doing any international work at all?
So when I was with PII, I started in the field, ended up moving into managing the field services for Canada, and then ended up managing operations for Canada and operations for Germany. So because I was tied so tight to Germany, and Germany, the technology was primarily used in Canada, I ended up getting that. They just thought it would be a good idea if we were kind of rolled together. And
perfect, yeah.
Yeah, so I ended up getting that opportunity. So kind of the last 3 or 4 years I was there, I was kind of back and forth between there and here, and awesome experience.
If you ever need somebody to as an assistant, I'm always available for this international travel.
Yeah. And well, I moved on from G a couple of years ago, so the international travels died off. But
it could come back.
Yeah, you never know. Like it's been good too. I was more with G. I was more focused on technology and application of technology, and with this new role that I'm in with inline pigging solutions. Rolls off the tongue there.
Big line.
You always figure it out. Yeah. You'll remember that forever. We got the best logo. It's like a planet. Looks like Uranus. And an inline pigging solution. So nice. Just because those two things they just naturally kind of go together, right? A planet.
It's a natural merge.
Yeah. So anyways, but it's a great little company. It's when we're not that little anymore. I think we got 65 or 70 people, but
perfect.
It's a lot of fun. It's private owner, so it's you got a lot more flexibility. You're not corporate bureaucracy anymore.
Yeah,
that wears you down.
It can slow things down or make things worse. Yeah.
But not a lot of international travel associated with that anymore. But we did open an office in the U.S. So
perfect.
Travel to Houston every once in a while and
it's not a bad place to go hang out.
No, Houston's pretty good. Yeah.
That's like a hub of the oil world.
Yeah, it's unbelievable
big
down
time.
there. Yeah.
Houston and Calgary.
Yeah.
It's pretty much.
Yeah, I think the U.S. is actually built on pipelines. It's I don't know if you've ever seen a map of the U.S. pipeline network, but it's like there's pipelines over 80% of every square inch of that country, and then dirt and grass.
So it's something they definitely need to maintain.
Yeah, I think the market's about 10 times bigger down there.
It's one of their biggest. What's a huge piece of the pie down there.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Totally cool.
So.
What else do we got to talk about? I wrote a few things down. We've covered almost everything. Let me look.
Let's have a look.
This book is very important. That's pretty much it. But what do you think is going to happen in the future here with pipeline inspections?
Yeah.
And what you're doing. What do you see happening in the future here?
I mean, pipeline integrity is it doesn't really matter. We got to maintain the infrastructure we got.
Either
right?
way. Yeah.
Same for you. Like welders will always have stuff to weld, and people in pipeline integrity will probably always have stuff to inspect. But
things are always changing. And we always have to adapt. Keep on learning more and try to do a better job all the time and feel a little more efficient. But at the end of the day, it's got to be done.
Yeah, and I think Canada, we're innovators in the industry.
Huge.
So, it's frustrating to kind of watch all this stuff about social license and whether we should move our resources. Well, we're really good at it.
We're the best.
So I often think back about, back in the 80s and 90s and even before that, like, this isn't new to us. We're really good at it. We've spent a lot of time developing all these technologies, and a lot of people's families have been provided for.
Decades of improving it.
Yeah. So we've been really fortunate. We're fortunate to have the resources we do, and we're fortunate enough to live in a country that values kind of technology development and doing things properly. And we should be leveraging that, not punishing that side of the industry. Right?
Totally. Yeah.
So it's really frustrating, and it makes, there's often days where I wonder if I should stay in oil and gas, right? Because maybe there's something else out there. And the thing at the end of the day, it just really interests me. One, I think it's challenging, but two, I think that Canadians do it the right way, and there's a lot of good people working in the industry that don't get a lot of credit for what they do,
and they're complete experts. They've completely dedicated their working career, their working life to make sure it's as good as it can get.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, and the unfortunate part is those people are leaving, right?
Yeah, they're discouraged and they go work in another field, another industry,
or they go to another country and do that. Right? There's no shortage of companies from outside of Canada that are headhunting those people to get them, because they know how well we do it.
100%. 100%. Well, I think we covered it all, buddy. Cheers.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
That was a pleasure.
That was great.
Awesome.
Yep.
Howdy there. My name is Chase Walker. I'm a native to High River. This song that I'm playing is called The Cattle Call. It was initially requested by my grandfather, and I played it for him during his funeral. And I think it's a really beautiful song, and I'd like you to hear it. The cattle are prowling, the coyotes are howling, way out where the doggies fall, where spurs are a-jingling, a cowboy is singing his lonesome cattle call. He's brown as a berry from riding the prairie, and he rounds up the cattle each fall. Singing his cattle call. For hours he would ride on the range far and wide, till the night winds blow up a squall. His heart is a feather in all kinds of weather. He sings his cattle call. He rides in the sun till his day's work is done, and he sings with an old western drawl. Singing his cattle call. trees.